What's going on, guys? I'm Zachary Gray, and today we're out here in the longleaf savanna looking for one of our most common viper species. They're a snake we've covered plenty of times before, but today we're covering them again. We're looking for copperheads.
South Mississippi is a great place to see southern copperheads, an American viper species that I'm pretty well experienced with. My aim today is going to be to get up close with some of these vipers and show just how non-aggressive or aggressive these snakes can be.
There's a little snake. That is a copperhead. Nice. First snake of the day. It's a little copperhead. Ooh, look at you. Notice the way he just kind of slowly turned his head towards me. They're a very aware snake species, much like cottonmouths. Very relaxed, very cooled off, I guess. This is a medium-sized one, probably just a bump over a foot long, maybe 14, 15 inches. Very nice example of a southern copperhead. Almost no broken bands. The end of his tail has a couple, but for the most part, this is actually a pretty typical copperhead. Now this is a pit viper, so this is a venomous snake. He's definitely not too happy with me. You can see he's rattling his tail there, and he's lost that yellow coloration on the top that they have as a baby, but I can actually see on the bottom of his tail, there's still a bit of yellow. Copperheads out here are predominantly a longleaf species, but they can live in virtually any habitat. In fact, some of the places that I see them the most are in lowland habitats in the middle of longleaf. He's got a little red tongue there, and he's just tongue flicking, he's just smelling around. And another really cool thing about this snake are their eyes. See how he's got those vertical pupils? Almost kind of looks like a cat for a moment, those cat eyes. Now copperheads are very camouflaged, and seeing them on the road is probably the easiest way to see a copperhead. So when you're walking through all this dense brush, they're just not going to move. They're just going to sit there and be very camouflaged, so they can be very difficult to spot. They're a much more mild-mannered snake when compared to cottonmouths. Well, he doesn't like me messing with him one bit. Copperheads are very placid. Copperheads have this weird little head twitch, almost like a pygmy rattlesnake. Whenever something gets in their face, they just their head just twitches towards it. And the babies especially are like very twitchy. Beautiful little snake. Good start to the day. Our first copperhead. Hopefully we end up finding some bigger ones, but if not, hopefully we end up seeing some of the other vipers that call these longleaf pine forests home. Tail bud. I don't want to leave him in the road just in case a car does come down. Little patch of gravel right here for you, bud. There you go. Alright, you can stay there. And then whenever you're done, you can go back into your grass.
With this little guy safely moved off the road, it was time to hit some more lowland areas. Copperheads spend a lot of time in bottoms, mostly hunting for frogs. And I've found that in areas with surrounding pine forest, these oak and magnolia-filled spots have lots of cool snakes.
Oh, water snake. There we go. Nice. It's a little baby yellow belly. This is a super common water snake around here. And you'll notice, he might not look like what you would think a yellow belly would look like. He's got some patterning on him. This is actually one of the harder snakes to identify in this region because one, he looks like a lot of other water snake species, but also that patterning makes him look a lot like a cottonmouth, a copperhead, a lot of the things that people would be worried about. So these guys get killed a lot because people think that they're venomous. Definitely a snake that people would confuse for a copperhead, but also just a very common species. See, bud? Copperhead. Bye. Oh, no you don't. Dude, come on. You little stinky. This little guy's got some broken bands. He's also very light. I find that they're always just going to be a bump different looking in these little lowland areas, whether it's lighter, darker, whatever. They're just a little bit different from the surrounding areas. Now, this guy's pretty little, but he doesn't have much of a yellow tail left. He's not being aggressive in any sense of the word. I still don't want him near my fingers, but he's being so difficult. He won't stop moving. That other one was so nice and easy, and this guy just will not stop moving. You gonna stop? You gonna chill? Just chill. Just sit there. You good? Okay. Now these lowland habitats are a great place for copperheads to come out. In fact, that's probably where I see the most while hiking, is in areas like this. They're very difficult to spot, but there's a ton of them here. So your odds of seeing one in this kind of habitat are pretty high. Well, this guy is incredibly active, so I'm not gonna bug him for much longer. He probably saw us coming and was just heading straight for his little hole there. So he probably bugged him while he was basking, or probably finishing up basking, I could say, because he is just active. Like, look at this, he is not stopping. Really cool little snake, and a good example of how these smaller snakes are super camouflaged in these lowland habitats. Very difficult to spot, but there are a lot of them here. Really cool little snake. We're gonna go ahead and let him on his way. Keep looking for more. But that is another very light and very active little copperhead.
After dinking around in the hardwoods for a bit, it was time to get back into the savannah as things warmed up. It can be crazy difficult to spot snakes in areas like this, so flipping logs is typically my go-to. But you can also see things in the tall grass and brush that you wouldn't typically expect.
I think I just found a coyote skull. Huh. They got some cool stuff out here in Longleaf, that's for sure. Although this is very difficult habitat to hunt for anything live. I mean, there's a lot of life out here, as you can see by this. I mean, something died, clearly, but a lot of it is underground, so coolio. I guess I'll keep this with me and figure out what it is later, but fairly certain that's a coyote. Do you think I'll get something?
No. We're in Mississippi.
What do you mean, no?
We're in Mississippi. Ain't nothing in Mississippi.
Can y'all tell that I'm clearly looking for copperheads right now? Can y'all tell that that's truly my focus in life? Is to film a copperhead video right now? Dang. You know that. Ooh, okay. We'll take it. Now, this is a pretty nice sized copperhead for this area. He's got some nice dark colors, broken bands toward the back. Very important when you know you're in a place with venomous snakes to not flip logs with your hands, or at least if you are gonna flip them with your hands, flip it from the top. He's nice and cooled off. That's a nice sized copperhead. He's actually a little bit grumpy. He's cooled off, but look, see how he keeps holding his head up? How he's kind of positioned himself towards me? This is actually kind of a grumpy copperhead. Now, a copperhead of this size would be able to give a pretty decent bite. I would say he's got a decent amount of venom in those venom glands right there. You can see the slight bulge where the venom gland is on the copperhead. And it's pretty typical to see that of pit vipers. They just kind of have a bit of a wider head. And of course, non-venomous snakes will go out of their way to mimic that. But compared to the other venomous snakes that we have out here, cottonmouths, rattlesnakes, or I should say our larger rattlesnakes, not including pygmies, these guys have a relatively low venom yield. So oftentimes they're not going to be putting out a lot of venom, and their venom is specifically made just to deal with prey that they wouldn't be able to take out on their own. So honestly, out in habitat like this, I'd say this guy's mostly going to be eating rodents. So probably like shrews and short-tailed rats under logs and stuff. Now, unlike their subaquatic cousins, these guys are not a very defensive snake. They're not going to sit there with their mouth open. Really, the only time that this snake is going to try to bite you is if you grab it. I mean, as y'all can see here, he's pretty unhappy. Like, that tail is going off. But notice exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to get that way. Camera's there, I'm here. He wants to get that way. And if he was going this way, that means he's got to burrow that way. These snakes don't want to be messed with, and they'll rely on their camouflage and their hiding skills. You'll notice he didn't even move until I messed with it. He was just like, okay, well, they flipped my log. I guess I can just sit here. I'm probably pretty camouflaged. Maybe they'll put it back, or maybe I'll just move. But now that he's fully disturbed, he's just trying to get out of my way. These are not an overly aggressive species. Actually, overall, this copperhead here, he's wiry.
What does it smell like?
Not cucumber. I could definitely say he's aggressively trying to get away. And make no mistake, if I were to grab him in the middle of his body, anywhere near his head, he'd bite me, 100%. But almost any snake will do that. So I'm basing it off of just a general standard of snakes. There are some genuinely aggressive snakes in the world. A lot of our elapid species are very nervy. And there's even some viper species that you just don't want to mess with. They're grumpy and they know that they've got power. Copperheads are just not one of those species. He's trying to get out of my way. And even the snakes that are more likely to bite are really just straight up. They're only going to bite you if you mess with them. That's it. He has spent the last couple minutes just trying to get away from me. He just wants to be that way. This is a really cool copperhead, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, bud. Wow, well that is an absolutely incredible species. The southern copperhead, one of our most common viper species out here in the South. Definitely not a snake that you should ever approach, and definitely never try this. Now, as I said before, these snakes don't have a very potent venom. If you do want to know more about that, make sure to go and check out the time we talked about how deadly a copperhead is. A really great video there, and we will see you guys next time. All right, time to roll this guy's log back and put it back up there. Come on, you. There we go. Woohoo!